When I was about 10 years of age, I was told girls weren't allowed to play rugby, and it always kind of stuck. And then when I was early 20s, my GAA season has ended and I had a chance to play something new, and I thought now's the time to give rugby a try.
I started rugby when I was 22, and the reason I started rugby was, unfortunately, my father passed away of a heart attack in the summer of 2006, and I went back to college. I needed a distraction. My friends were coaches. I took it up, and I suppose the rest is history.
I started rugby when I was 22. I was in college in Newell and I was captain of the soccer team, and I was the centre half, an absolute maniac, so everyone said you should try rugby. I love the physical side of the game, and I absolutely fell in love with it in the first training session.
So we're back here in Ashbourne, lads. A lot of memories floating through here. Good times definitely had in this patch.
God, so many memories, isn't there?
Yeah, did you get a sense of nervousness driving in?
No, I never got nervous playing. I always knew Fiona was starting ahead of me, so I was able to build it up on the bench and relax. But yeah, no, it's such a great place. I remember like all the family, you just look, you see everyone and the people working there and everything. Amazing.
Yeah, you'd actually miss like coming here.
Also, don't forget the pigeon shooting place over there.
Yeah.
I've often jumped all fours on the ground when I hear the shots going off during training, or if we were doing a scrum session over in the pitch over there before the match. But yeah.
One of the things that I always remember and being real distracting was playing on the wing, and there used to be a burger van over there, and you'd be trying to concentrate in the middle of the game and you just get this whiff of burger which would be nearly making you feel sick when you were trying to look for the ball. It was terrible.
And you knew if you ate them, you'd be moving up to the front row next year.
I always just thought it was a really welcoming place to come. You'd come in for your captain's run or a training session, and the groundsman would be there saying hello. You just felt really, it felt like home, even though like I'm from Laois, you're from Limerick, and you're from Donegal. I was like, where is she from again? It just felt like home. It felt like a sense of community, that you'd come in and they were looking after you, and they were our people and we were their people. And I don't know, it's hard to describe that feeling, but it was really important to our success, I think. So I know, girls, the two of you, Nora, you were injured and you weren't involved in 2012, but I think that kind of set the foundation for 2013. And I remember beating Wales, I think, quite well. We bet Scotland well enough and Italy well. And then we went to France, and the famous story of France. Basically, all our travel plans went awry. And yeah, so we arrived into Paris and we missed our bus to the train station because of rush hour traffic. So we didn't know what to do because the next train was for hours and hours. So we were all camped out on the street, and Philip Doyle was panicking. He was going absolutely ballistic. We got to then Pau about 3 hours before the game. We had our team meeting at breakfast, and basically, long story short, after 3 hours sleep, we lost to France by a point, and I think that really showed us that we were capable of becoming a really good team. And our last game then was against England, and sure, they're the standard setters for so long, but at 60 minutes it was 6-all, and I think it was the first time that we'd stayed in a game against England for so long. Now, their experience and their talent showed they got maybe 2 or 3 tries, but at the end of the game, I remember Philip Doyle Goose saying, look, we could stay with them for 60 minutes, like if we get fitter and stronger and more skillful, we could beat them.
So it was interesting about 2013, first game away to Wales, but I was on the bench that day, and actually where we're standing here, the December before the Six Nations that year, where I was playing an Interpro game, and I tried to be a little bit cocky and kick a ball past somebody, and she landed on my leg, and so my whole knee went backwards, and that busted up my knee, so I didn't even know if I'd get to play the Six Nations. So hadn't even trained properly with the team leading up to that, but got on the squad, was a sub for that match, headed over to Wales, and God, there's so many memories there. Half time.
Oh, yeah.
I was a sub, so I could see, you know, everybody coming off the pitch.
Yeah.
And then next thing, change room door's not opening, and it's like, okay, well, what do we do here? Up steps Gus, what the hell's going on? Boom!
Kicks the door open the river. Yeah, but how tight was that game coming into the last few minutes though?
I remember that game. It was like we conceded a really soft try in the first half. I remember there was a ruck, and the 15 picked and went around the blind side of the ruck and just ran in a try. And I remember thinking it was the softest try, and then they kind of got up on us then. And yeah, it was the second half. I remember it was a very strong wind, and I think their 10 put a kick in, and it seemed like the ball was kind of going to. I went off to try and catch a GA style, but then it kind of ended up like catching the wind and going over my head. And I suppose Briggs was trying to come across, so the winger got on it. Well, she didn't get on it, I was kind of bobbling, but I just sprinted back, and just as she was about to ground it, I managed to kick it away with I'd say my big toe, and just moved it a slight inch, and she couldn't touch down. But if she'd scored that try, which was towards the end, we wouldn't be standing here talking about the Grand Slam. It's just, it's mad how the small inches can make such a difference.
Like Gillian Burke.
Getting the try.
Yeah.
Nicknamed National Treasure, wasn't it? She was nicknamed National Treasure for that try for a long time.
And there was so many moments in that, and I think, you know, everybody presumes now, oh yeah, Wales, you beat Wales, which they didn't do this year, but back then, like, it was never a guarantee. That's the year we never looked beyond it. And there was we were kind of on a bit of a journey as well. You know, the team had been together a little while, a couple of new players coming in and new caps and stuff, but we were we were definitely building.
Never lost to England, that's all I was saying. I've never lost to England anyway.
Okay, well, England was next. Go on.
England was next, yeah. So that game was unbelievable here in this pitch. That's probably the most memorable for me anyway, that sticks out in my head. I know France was, but never beaten England, and I think I came on with maybe 25 minutes to go, but she'd done a lot of the hard work before that.
Well, I don't know if you had the same feeling, but when we went into the change rooms at half time, it was 25-0, and I was still like, God, this is England. They could come out like in 5 minutes and score loads of tries. And I remember just thinking, right, we have a good lead, but we can't be complacent, we can't be comfortable. And that was the message from the management. I think, as you said, the second half we did a lot of defending, they had more ball. But as you said then, it was kind of like keeping an eye on, not the time, but like, oh God, like, well, technically 5 minutes left. Could they mathematically score? And then you're kind of enjoying, you're like, go, we're going to win. Are we? Oh, and yeah, concentrate. No, we're not. And then the whistle blew, and
I always remember the scoreline, you know, looking up at the scoreboard. I don't know, that's always forever ingrained, like just 25-0.
Yeah.
And the picture that we have underneath it as well is kind of pretty cool. Scotland, I remember we were pretty nervous going into that, I think, or we were a bit frantic or something in the match, you know, knowing it was Triple Crown, no silverware at the end, but we had a real chance of winning Triple Crown, or being called that anyway. But yeah, it took us a while to settle into that game.
I don't remember being nervous before. I remember maybe just because we had such a good win, we thought, you know, we'd beaten England 25-0, and then, but I remember we had loads of possession in the first half, and like, we just kept trying to like force the pass, give offloads when they weren't on. So we should have had much more scores on the board. But yeah, I actually remember about that game afterwards. There's actually a few people that were actually real fans that weren't related to us or
I
friends.
think as well. Do you remember? Was it Dyer Youth Committee travelled up or something? Didn't they?
They left the men's game, wasn't it, or something? Was it, or the 20s?
Yeah, I don't know. There was something anyway that was like, oh, made a big deal that they made it up.
I just remember my mum introduced me to two people. She's like, they heard about the England result and they came to the game.
They got to train to the game. I think I met those two as well.
Yeah, so that was progress, real fans.
The next game though, France, is probably one of the highlights. And my biggest memory is coming in and going, ooh, there's a lot more people here. Like, and even warming up and seeing cars driving down, seeing, you know, before it was always you came to your matches and you can nearly see everybody in the crowd. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, there's such and such. And
Why are you looking at the crowd, Nora? You should be concentrating.
But just the noise of that game, you're like, there's a lot of people here.
That was such a tense game.
I was told to be a speed ramp. It was like, just let them over the top of you. You're going to be a speed ramp on the ground.
Like a whole day of tweaking our interior defence, how we were going to defend differently, so we could bring the big runners back in. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Now that you say it, we did change it up last minute, kind of, wasn't it?
And it did. It worked the time. I just remember being like, God, I better remember how to do this in the game. But
it was good rugby though, wasn't it? It was good. Yeah. Like there was good hits. There was good phases of play. It was like we spoke about the Wales probably and Scotland game not being that, and obviously England was really clinical. But I think France was definitely more physical than England. But I thought the phases of play went over and over again. So yeah, we knew we were champions. But I suppose the next goal was be the first Irish women's team to ever win a Grand Slam, and that was massive. Like that, I don't even think we started talking about that with people. We were like, we'll wait till it finishes before we even discuss this match. But we definitely had a goal in the back of our heads anyway, that was the way it had to be. It wasn't just good enough to win the Six Nations. We wanted to win all the games.
And I remember there was obviously very little media attention about any of the wins really, but I think there was a little bit of momentum starting to build after obviously that French game, and then we heard that there was going to be televised on television, which was a huge thing.
Flat out with the fake tan then weren't we, for the telly. The first time I was like, God, these white legs are getting a bit of tan.
Do you remember the beautiful weather? Like when we all arrived?
Because I remember the pitch being sandy though, so even though it was dry the day before, it just the next day was.
The pitch was in muck though, wasn't it? I remember we were doing you do your team run or whatever. I remember it was people were getting grazed, it was cold, there was sleet coming, there was sand everywhere. It was just.
I was disgusted as a winger on that surface. Just was.
You're like, this is going to slow me down.
Actually,
Never
it was
had
so
that problem,
bad. It was like running in a ploughed field. We definitely though in 2012 had beaten Italy very well here, and it was we scored some lovely tries, and it was quite expansive. So I'm not sure. Italy are a very good team, but I'm not sure if we thought they were going to test us that much on that day.
No, and they scored first. They scored, yeah, they got 3 points first.
I know sports psychology and all that and all the things you learn over the years, but I remember kind of panicking when they got the penalty and being like, God, this could go horribly wrong. We're not going to win a Grand Slam. Oh my God.
I suppose, yeah, we'd worked obviously on defence and stuff, and I think, so then obviously Joy spotted a gap.
She went for before that as well. Do you remember that? Because she went to try and win the ball before, and I don't know if she got blasted out of it or anything. Right. And the whole time, you remember Fee Cockins and everybody's here, don't give away a penalty, don't give away a penalty. She was screaming this, and so we were all very much on the same wavelength. Yeah. But I think when, as you said, probably Italy's last attack of the game, maybe 1 or 2 minutes to go in the match, and then you see Joy put her head in and her hands on the ball, and I think I was just like,
what way is the ref going to go?
I was just like, oh, she's messed it up. You know, it's like, you're kind of torn between it. I'm just like, oh my God.
And then the referee's hand.
Yeah, and I remember just panicking, being like, what way is this going?
But then we still had a we still had a bit to do.
You felt like that was the moment of the game. You felt like this is it. They're not going to get back here. There's probably a minute. We're going to get the penalty. We're going to kick up. The line-out was going well enough. We were hitting the front. So I feel like that's definitely the pivotal moment of the game for me, because you just saw the referee's hand. Then we knew that the line-out was going well. So we knew that we probably a minute and a half, if even left. We knew it wasn't over, but we knew Briggsy has a big boot. We were going up that pitch. And obviously we won that line out, and then how were you feeling at that time anyway?
I remember my father had died a good few years ago, and I remember when I were worried about something, I'd pray to him. So I remember in that game when I probably should have been thinking about something rugby-ish, going, Bobby Miller, put us through here. Make us win this Grand Slam. Come on, Bobby, deliver. You've delivered before. And the funniest thing was, my husband is not one very religious, but he said he was praying during the game to him as well. But thanks, Bobby, for that, because you did put us through.
Good man, Bobby. Good man, Bobby. It was definitely the more senior players, you could almost see relief in their faces. Obviously, I was like, this is normal. This is my first year. win this all the time, too easy, you know. But you could see the relief in like Joy, Lynn, Fee Coughlin, and there was tears, you know. It was just raw emotion. I suppose we've talked about like the thing in France, what they've got walloped by England by hundreds of points. They'd literally been on that journey together. I jumped on the last stop, living the dream. But
it was very special, not just for us, the squad, but it was for every woman that played for Ireland in the time that women have been playing rugby in Ireland, because they've gone through, they set it up, they stayed in each other's houses,
they came to the games.
They came to the games.
Italy.
A lot of them actually flew over to that game, didn't they? Yeah. And I remember the fans being so good at that game that I don't know who decided they were doing it, but the fans had a flag for every single player. Do you remember? Yeah. With our names on it?
So I suppose back then, Ali, no one got to see your try celebrations on Twitter because there wasn't really footage, was there, released after games or social media wise? There wasn't nothing. You could see it more and more now. It's really good, but back then.
Yeah, I remember in 2013 just getting on Twitter, actually before the Italy game at the Grand Slam, and kind of. Even like the RFU website would have been the main way of kind of disseminating the information. So Twitter was there, but it kind of wasn't used. But you kind of think now going on how, like, say the Irish women play now and like a try will be put up straight away, which increases the exposure. But it's like, it's a pity in a way you don't have those footage, or you didn't have that. Twitter's great for people to just go check a score or check for putting the knowledge out there. But it's a pity in a way that and I don't love social media. Like, there's a part of me that doesn't like a lot of it too, but a part of it does expose the game to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's good like that. I mean, you would have been flat out with them TikTok dances, wouldn't you, before the before a game?
I don't even dancing before a game. Like,
it's different, I suppose. Now we see those TikTok videos,
so
and
normal,
they're all like,
I think. Where I just
whereas Fiona Coughlin would hit you with a slap across the head.
She would not have danced before a game.
Your captain wouldn't have liked that one.
No.
But but it's good. It exposes thing. We see it, like, you know, TikTok come on as sponsors. It's everywhere now. As you said, like earlier when we were chatting, like a try is scored, it's up in line 5 seconds, 20 seconds later. Like, that's the exposure the games need.
And it's funny, like, it's really what hit me one day was I was in school, and one of the first years, I wouldn't know anything about rugby, just came up to me and she goes, "How come you're not playing here?" And it was a sevens tournament or something. Yeah. And I was like, "How do you even know they're playing?" She's like, "Instagram."
Oh. Yeah, 9 years on, guys, since that 2013 year. Jeez, mad, isn't it? So where do you think the game is now in Ireland? Like, we obviously won the Grand Slam, we were lucky to be part of that team. How do you think women's rugby has gone since then? Is it the way you envisaged it to go? Did you think that was the way the team or rugby would go?
But I think, like, at the time we were still in that kind of, the wheels were still moving, wasn't it? And we went from 2013 to 2014 and what a year that was. There was some retirements after that. 2015 still relatively positive. So I don't know, there's probably something there between then and 2017 and further. Yeah. That it probably didn't go maybe as we all hoped it would go.
I suppose, like, in ways the Grand Slam made more people play, there's more girls playing, there's more interest, more media exposure. But for me, I suppose, when we won the Grand Slam, and especially the World Cup, beat New Zealand and coming fourth in the World Cup, I was like, God, Ireland are going to win. Like, they're going to be regular contenders for a Grand Slam or Six Nations. So that's just one thing I'd be a bit disappointed about. Like, and I've no doubts that, you know, an Irish team will do it soon, but I probably kind of envisaged that it was a turning point, that a change of order in the teams that were winning. So that, I'm just a bit disappointed about that, but I think that will come hopefully sooner rather than later, because as much as it's nice to be, we're the only one team that won the Grand Slam, you want to see more. You want to see an Irish team winning it, like.
Of course, we're supporters.
Yeah, like, you don't want to be the only team that won it, like, for a long time. You want them to win next year, this year. Well, you know, obviously not this year, but like.
It was a reality check as well on where women's rugby is at. Like, you know, we all left it in a place and we thought it was going to grow from strength to strength, and it was probably neglected a little bit at times. So it's good to see it's good to see it's gone back.
Yeah,
the shift has gone
I
back.
definitely felt it was neglected, and I'm going to be honest and blunt about that, and people can say what they like, but definitely I was involved in sevens and I was involved in 15s, and I definitely felt that 15s was that poor relation for those years after that. So it was disappointing, but look, it's a new era now, and Greg Williams was a good guy, and there's really good players there now, so I know this team can go out and do something special. It won't happen overnight, but they're all young enough to...
Building.
Yeah, they're all young enough to be there.